we're approaching the end of the Land and Liberty evening at Pogo Cafe in Hackney. We've talked about land and food and people's access to land and growing their own food. I'm talking here to Rob, who's a community food growing activist. Explain to us the importance of the evening, Rob.
When I first got into community food growing a few years ago, and one of the things that led me to it was reading the story of the New York community food growing squatted land in the 1970s. And essentially what happened was there was a series of plots of land, and they ended up going to court after defending it. And there was this lovely moment in this very personal story about how the nunnery across the road from one of these squatted gardens turned up with huge sunflowers, and I don't know, maybe they were doing dancing outside or something. But what that story highlighted to me is how community food growing can create unexpected alliances, that you can build very strong informal relationships with people just by taking practical action together over something that's very vital to us, to a real need. You know, what are our real needs? They're shelter, water and food. And I think it's very empowering to do this together, you know, and what's important is the how we do this together. We can experiment, we can find different ways to meet our real needs together. And for me that's deeply threatening, because I think at the core of a capitalist culture is an exploitation of one another, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's through race or gender. There's an exploitation and an atomisation through this economic culture that we call capital, you know.
And tonight we did something against atomisation. We met, we talked, we shared food. I mean, what your sense of this evening, and what would you hope to be coming out of it?
I think, you know, the beginnings of new relationships. So it's very easy to make relationships in the garden, and you saw tonight how when people got talking about their gardening, became very passionate. And you know, I suppose we're a bit awkward in this island, aren't we, when it comes to meeting new people. And initially at the beginning of the workshop, there was a little bit of, you know, are we going to do this? But by the end, there was a bit of a hubbub, and people were getting excited about different ideas. So maybe some of these ideas will be taken on further. Maybe they won't. Maybe someone will do it in 6 months' time, or maybe someone will see each other in the street and swap some seeds. You know, anything could come out of that. And I think the other important thing about tonight is what we learn from other people, and what we learn from the past. So we heard the very rich story of the Zapatistas in Mexico, you know, and you look also to other political movements from history, and there's an unexpected movement around food, you know. So the Black Panthers, which you might associate with self-defense of black communities from violent white police in America in the 60s. You would associate that image with them, and that creative form of self-defense, of using a legal loophole to respond to that. But what's interesting is that they fed 10,000 black kids every day through their community survival programs. That's incredible, and very dangerous to corporations, to the government, because actually people are beginning to feed themselves, and you're removing your consent from a destructive system. You're no longer retaining that kind of power dynamic that you're reliant on someone else, and that's very empowering to take that back into your own life, I think.
And we're here in London. Obviously there's a lot of community food growing groups are sort of popping up all over the place. Where would you advise people to go to find out more information?
Look up Community Food Growers Network, which is a London-based network of community food growing projects that support each other and hold meetings. There's a meeting that was mentioned later this month. You can have a look at that. But also look at Reclaim the Fields, which is a UK-wide network that also goes into Europe. Go and have a look there, and you can see the different projects in your area. Come to the next London Liberty event if you want to come and meet people and talk about how we can work together to reclaim our food systems.
Right. So that was Rob. wrapping up an evening of Land and Liberty here in Hackney. And this is Patrick Chalmers for Vision on TV.